This Sunday night, February 2nd at 7 p.m. at the Fort Garry Hotel, Jazz Winnipeg will be presenting Faux Pas Funk. Described as a party band to the core, Faux Pas Funk was founded in 2014. It mixes funk, jazz, and world music together to create a rhythmic and sound tapestry where the musicians of the band can open things up for improvisation. Faux Pas Funk has performed a wide variety of events, including international festivals, underground showcases, and even breakdancing competitions. Sunday's show at the Fort Garry Hotel is sure to be loads of fun and a fantastic way to welcome in the month of February here in the city. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio to talk about this Sunday night's show at the Fort Garry Hotel, I am joined by saxophonist and bandleader Faux Pas Funk, Niall Cade. Hi, Niall.
Hey,
nice
Chris, how you doing? Yeah, nice to see you again. Yeah, I know, it's quite the mouthful.
So recently, the Fort Garry Hotel has become sort of a common ground for you. Last week, you were performing with the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra for their CD release. How was the CD party and how was the release?
Oh, it was great. I mean, anytime I got to play with the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra, it was awesome. That music in particular, which was the Fred Stride, Jean-Nicolas Trottier, East Meets West Connections album, was great. Playing Fred's music is always awesome. Same with Trottier's. And, you know, of course, like you say, that series has become just kind of a staple of the Winnipeg music scene. Everyone at Jazz Winnipeg, Zachary Rushing, Angela Heck, has done a great job building an audience. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. Okay, and now this Sunday, you're performing with your band, Faux Pas Funk. Mm-hmm. Formed in 2014. What did you and the original band members have in mind when you started the group?
Yeah, okay, so this project I've had for a long time, and it kind of got put on ice for a number of years. But when I originally started, it was kind of when I was coming out of university, so I graduated U of M, the music program there in about 2013. Throughout that whole time, I was working with a variety of bands, a lot of like Motown as well. There was one that you may be familiar with, Retro Rhythm Review.
Yeah.
I've been playing with them since 2009, and it was such a great learning experience for me to kind of dig into Motown, funk, R&B music, that whole genre, and really fell in love with all that music. At the same time, you know, exploring tenor saxophone and jazz fusion has always been interesting, and I've always been inspired by people like Chris Potter, Michael Brecker, Bob Mintzer, who have always maintained that kind of electro fusion jazz mix. And so Faux Pas Funk was kind of my way of creating an ensemble that allowed me to do something like that, an approximation, or gave me kind of the genre, or freedom of genre, I should say, to dabble in whatever kind of compositional whims that came to my mind, not necessarily maintaining like a strict jazz inspiration profile for the music. And so, you know, and also one thing that was really important for the original ensemble was taking members from different music scenes. And when, you know, with the breakdancing competition, I used to play in this other kind of, I would say, more neo-soul group that was around that time, like 2013, 2014. So the bass player, Carlin Jupiter from that band, I kind of picked her up, and then she joined Faux Pas and tried to amalgamate all these musicians that might have come from different areas. And so that was also one of the aspects, was to combine not just the jazz scene, but other kind of neo-soul, R&B scene musicians, and to make music together.
Yeah. I was also reading on your website that the band makes use of electronic-infused themes. Are you making reference to the fact that you're using synths and electric guitars, or are you actually using electroacoustic overdubs?
No, it's mostly just referencing to synthesizers and electric guitars. Obviously, I would love to delve more into that world in particular and leave that space open for exploration. But no, in this case, I'm mostly just referring to the textures, the sonic textures. Yeah, synths, guitars. I'm trying to get more into that world. You know, I haven't got my synth chops quite up yet in terms of designing their own sounds. But obviously, again, the band is kind of my forum or my avenue to explore these other interests besides just like acoustic jazz settings.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I heard the band's tune McLovin on YouTube. And there's definitely, you mentioned it earlier, there's definitely some Brecker brothers in there. I heard a little bit of Stevie Wonder and even some Weather Report. How would you describe the band's sound?
Okay, so that's that music, and here's the unfortunate part. I'll just do a little brief aside here. All that music that I had written prior to 2015 is like kind of what I consider to be the band's earlier period. And I actually have an album that's been sitting on my computer since 2015 that's unreleased of that music, including McLovin and its sister tune, McNasty, which is also available online. And so a lot of the music that we'll play, I just want to say quickly, this Sunday is going to be all new music. So again, similar inspirations and everything, but just put that caveat out there because the only thing that is public right now is this older stuff, which I still really enjoy and which is still I'm very proud of. So that piece in particular, you nailed it. I mean, Stevie Wonder, Brecker Brothers, Herbie Hancock, but that tune in particular actually was written for based on James Brown rhythms. And the melody during the B section is I stole from a Maceo Parker solo. Just this one little rhythmic idea that I took and then extrapolated from there and kind of created the basis for the song. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I mean, like a lot of these different influences, Stevie, Luther Vandross, anything that I am drawn to in that vein, I try to incorporate into that music. Yeah. Amazing. The new stuff is much more weather reporty, I will say, much more jazz leaning, but yeah, it's still a lot of fun.
Perfect. Yeah. So you played this breakdancing festival. I was just thinking about this. As a child of the 80s, there were breakdancing competitions when I was growing up, especially in the early 80s. Yeah. I'm picturing that is going to be was a lot different than what you played at. Can you talk about that? And was there was there an improvisation aspect to what you had to do in relation to what the dancers were doing?
Okay, so this happened, and the reason why I include it is just because of the diverse beginnings of our band in terms of the events that we played. And so that breakdancing competition, I think it was called Friends to the End, if I remember correctly. It was organized by an old high school friend of mine. And the other band that was at that event was Super Duty Tough Work back in the day. Yeah. So, it was so funny. And I've known Brendan for such a long time. We were together with Sleeping Giants. That was the first time I met him and played with him back in the day. But that, so interestingly about the breakdancing competition, whereas Super Duty was doing more covers of hip hop songs, right? I've always tried to bring in original music, such as McLovin, all these other tunes. Original composition has been a major focus of the group. So the challenge for that in particular, I'll just speak from a music perspective before getting into kind of what I remember of the competition itself. This was about 10 years ago at least. But then from a musical perspective, I had to have sections that would loop that then can be cued on to new sections for the dancers, right? So I wanted to create an acoustic original template of a DJ going between tracks. So that's why a lot of that music around that time, and McLovin in particular, which was written for that event, had multiple sections that I could cue transitions between. Right. And so that, one dancer would get up, he would have or she would have one groove. And then when the next dancer was ready, we would try to shift into a new groove. The competition itself, I think there was multiple groups or multiple dance troupes that kind of had broad dancers. And it was all fun. I'm sorry. This one was specifically a partner. That's why it was called Friends to the End. It was duos of dancers that competed, and then at the end, the winning duo would face off against each other, which was such a fun format. But that was the one and only breakdancing competition, so it makes great fodder for a bio. But I don't want to make it seem like that's our bread and butter.
Can you talk about who's in the band? What's the lineup?
Yeah,
and
for
can
sure.
you talk about who the musicians are?
Of course, I'd be more than happy to. So Faux Pas Funk, I mean, the people that made up this band in the past and that make up it currently are some of the best musicians in Winnipeg. Some of my favorite musicians to work with. So let's start off with, we had Aaron Shore on the guitar before he moved to Calgary. Right. So now he's been replaced by, have you met or have you heard Emmanuel Bach Camargo?
No.
Okay, this cat's from Brazil, amazing guitar player, moved to Canada to go do his master's at Brandon University, where I first met him. And then he's since moved to Winnipeg and has quickly become a really in-demand guitar player in every style, from jazz, rock, Brazilian. He can do it all. He's had an extensive performance career in Brazil, and he brings such an interesting rhythmic and complex rhythmic conception to the group, as well as an insane improviser. He's like the whole package. Carter Graham on keys. Yeah. Carter's, I think, one of Winnipeg's favorite pianists and keyboardists. I mean, the guy, not only being a super comprehensive jazz piano player, influences Bud Powell, Oscar Peterson, McCoy. You just hear the entire language in his playing, but he's also, such a fan of Stevie Wonder and that whole R&B music. So he just brings insane groove and musical knowledge to the group. And he was actually in the original iteration of the ensemble way back in 2014. Carter has been in it since then.
I saw him in the video, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I know, it's crazy. I always forget that video is still online. The internet never forgets, right? And then also in that, from that same group, Kevin Waters is the drummer. And I mean, Kevin, I don't know what you can really say about him that hasn't already been said. He's one of my favorite drummers to play with ever. You know, the guy is super in demand. Of course, the drummer was Super Duty Tough Work, a great band leader in his own right. We played a gig at the Fort Garry for that series last February it was. But one of the most musical human beings, you know, that I've ever encountered. And obviously brings, you know, for me with Faux Pas, just to kind of get into some of the compositional stuff, I tend to overcompose. You know what I'm saying? Like I tend to write out a bass line and then maybe even like exactly the chords that I want, the melody, but I never write anything for Kevin because I cannot write something better than what he's going to play, you know? And he just seems to always know what I want. Even just from like the bass line, he knows exactly what I'm going for, whether it's like a weather report thing, whether it's more of a James Brown or Stevie thing. So obviously Kevin is integral to the group. And then last but not least, Carl Kohut.
On bass.
He played, I think, first with us. I can't remember if he did a festival back in 2015, but he's been the recent bass, electric bass addition to the band since it's been revived in 2022. And you know, Carl is amazing. Like I say, I write a lot of complicated bass parts for him, and what's amazing is that he nails it, of course, as he does everything, but then also he brings his own personal touch and is able to improvise around what I've written, which is exactly what I'm always looking for. You know, I'm looking for the spirit of my composition and then for my members to kind of do their thing. And he holds it down. So
on Sunday night's show, it's going to be all original material, no covers, just
well, you know what? Actually, that's not 100% true. So it's all original. It's all new music and then arrangements, covers of a Neil Young tune. You'll probably guess the one. And then, you know, maybe a closer. But otherwise, it's all new music. It's all original music. I've been working on it. Like I said, you know, the band kind of got put on ice in 2015. And when I got back, my wife and I lived in New York for 6 years, from 2015 to 21. And when we moved back, it was like, do I want to resurrect this project? And I wasn't sure because all the music I had written for it was old from 2014, 2015. And I had kind of, grown since then and grown apart from the music. And I started the project back up, you know, thinking, okay, it might be a good thing to revive. A lot of its people are still here. Kevin and Carter are still here. Aaron Shore was still here at the time. But then as I booked some gigs, like we played Gentle Fest in 22, we played Jazz Fest, I believe, in 22 as well. As the project was revived, I started wanting to write. I just ended up writing for it. Nice. And so now we have almost a whole new album's worth of material that we'll present on Sunday.
It sounds to me like it's a band that like people just get up and dance to, like it's a total party band. Are you hoping that they'll move some of the tables off to the side so people can open it up?
Well, okay. So again, I think its party band aesthetic was more of the 2014, 2015 version. Although the music is still heavily focused on groove, heavily focused on different rhythms. I will say that the new music does use a lot of odd meters. So, you know, still funky, still groovy, still danceable, but I don't anticipate necessarily everyone dancing to 7 or 9, you know. You know, this particular iteration, and I should probably revise the mock-up, the bio for the group, but this particular iteration, how it differs from its original version, I've condensed the instrumentation. So whereas before, you saw in the video, like 2 guitars, percussion, trumpet, saxophone, now it's strictly quintet. So guitar, saxophone, keys, bass, drums. To make it more quote-unquote portable, you know, if and when we do tour, make it easier also to record and then, you know, mostly to kind of condense the orchestration and instrumentation so that I can better lead the ensemble. So it's, you know, it's still, like I say, it's still groovy. It's still drawing on the same inspirations, but now I'm kind of skewing more towards the Chris Potter Underground, Michael Brecker, or trying to at least a modernized version of, or my interpretation of that, where the focus is on improvisation and composition.
Perfect. I'm going to wrap up the conversation by asking what you and the band are looking forward to most about performing on Sunday.
Honestly, playing the music for a whole crowd of people. We played Jazz Fest, Winnipeg Jazz Fest this past year, where we featured, and for me, I'm kind of testing out new music. So we played some new music then. We played the Park Alleys in December, where I tested out some more new music. This will be the first concert that features pretty much all new original music. And so I'm looking forward to presenting it to an audience, and especially with that venue and that audience. Park Alleys I love. I'm a huge proponent of that establishment. But for something like this, its own built-in series with its built-in audience, and just showcasing the music to that crowd, and then also all of us are so busy. We're all, I talk about Carter, Kevin, Carl, Emmanuel, myself. We all are involved with numerous other projects, and time together is at a premium. So I'm personally looking forward to just working with them and playing with them. It's always fun when we actually get to play. We're gonna rehearse on Saturday, and there's kind of a little bit of, not apprehension, but I want to say anxiousness leading up to the rehearsal, just because I write music that is involved, let's say, a little difficult, a little involved, and there can be a little bit of trepidation leading up to the rehearsal. But as soon as we start playing, and as soon as we start actually feeling out the compositions and each other musically, it always is a blast. So we're going to have a ton of fun on Sunday.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, Faux Pas Funk show on Sunday night sounds like it's going to be super fantastic. All the best.
Thank you.
And thanks for taking the time to drop by and talk
Thanks
to me
for having
today.
me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. For our Classic 107 listeners, Faux Pas Funk performs this Sunday night, February 2nd at 7 p.m. at the Fort Garry Hotel. For more details, visit jazzwinnipeg.com or go to classic107.com. I've embedded a direct link to the show page in the article. It is up there now. Now, thanks again.
Thank you.